Hello, friends. Welcome back and thank you for joining me today. Today, I'm going to share with you my entire story with Law of Attraction from the very first time I used it 17 years ago through to today, and why I no longer need or want to use Law of Attraction and what I have found that works infinitely better than Law of Attraction. Before we dive into it, I just want to remind you that my links to my website, lovecoveredlife.com, where I sell my paintings, are in the description. So my first experience with Law of Attraction was at 19 years of age in the healing rooms of a non-denominational charismatic church. A group of people laid their hands on me and were given a word of knowledge that I had lower back pain. They then laid their hands on me and prayed for my back to be healed. I went home that night, and as I was laying in my bed, my back began to hurt. And I said to myself, no, they prayed for me. I am healed. I'm not doing this anymore. The pain left and it never came back. Little did I know that was my very first experience with Law of Attraction. I went on to have several more supernatural physical healings. I went back to the healing rooms and asked to be prayed for healing from depression because I was chronically depressed and had been for years. Three people sat in a half circle around me, laid their hands on me, and commanded the depression to leave in the name of Jesus Christ. I woke up the next morning and the depression was completely gone. And I stood in that healing as they taught me in the charismatic church. And anytime a hint of it would return, I would simply say, no, I am healed. I'm not doing this anymore. And it would instantly leave. Again, little did I know I was using Law of Attraction. My next supernatural healing was a major one, irritable bowel syndrome. I had been in misery with digestive issues for about 8 months. My husband at the time was a devout Christian as well. And he said to me, why are you trying so hard to get healed? He said, just let go and let God heal you. And when he said those words, let go and let God heal you, I began to experience myself as already being healed. I began to get myself out of the way and let the healing occur. A week later, I went to the healing rooms. My pastor blew on me and said, receive the Holy Spirit. He didn't even say anything about healing, but I knew I was healed. And I walked out of that service completely healed. My pain was completely gone. And that was my first direct experience that I actually had a part in controlling some of that outcome. That I was the one that got out of the way, let myself be healed, visualized myself and experienced myself as if I was already healed, and then it happened. My fourth supernatural healing was of chronic collapsed arches in my feet. And this one I had been dealing with for about 7 years. I got a job I really enjoyed. It was a housekeeping job, but it required me to be on my feet all day, every day. And while I loved the job, I remember coming home after the first day and telling my husband, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. My feet are hurting too much. And he said, Melissa, you've been healed of so many other things. You can be healed of this too. Give it 3 weeks. Can you believe that in 3 weeks, your feet will be completely healed? And with that, I let go and I was able to completely surrender into the belief that my feet would be healed. It didn't even take 1 week. All of these experiences with Law of Attraction for physical healing happen within the Word of Faith movement of Christianity. And what is taught in that movement is that you have to believe for healing. And what I experienced oftentimes in the Christian setting is that people would be believing and striving and trying to do something, trying to do the right thing, believe the right promises, have enough faith to kind of force and control the healing to occur. And a lot of times people were just left disappointed. But the more I began to experience these supernatural healings, the more clear and obvious it became to me that this is not the case. It's not me trying to have enough faith so that God looks down on me in favor and does the healing. It was simply me entering a certain state of mind, a certain state of being in which I experienced myself as already being healed. Fast forward a few years, I ended up going through a really difficult time in my life where my husband and I were struggling financially. We were fighting and arguing a lot. Our marriage was not doing well. Joe Dispenza popped up on my YouTube and would not go away. I mean, his videos kept popping up until I could not ignore it. I finally clicked on one and watched it, and that was it for me because he began explaining exactly what I had experienced in the Word of Faith movement with my supernatural experiences. But he was talking about it outside of a Christian perspective and from a very scientific and neurological perspective. And he was saying that it is your thoughts and feelings combined to create a state of being, which is creating an electromagnetic signal that is drawing certain experiences to you. And I dove headfirst into this teaching because, like I said, my life was falling apart and I needed to make some major changes. And after listening to every lecture of his that I could get my hands on, I said, okay, I'm doing this. I'm doing his meditation. And I began meditating for about an hour every morning. I would get up at 4:30 and I would meditate for an hour. And I began visualizing with intense emotion and color and detail exactly what I wanted my life to look like. And I created the feeling of how I thought I would feel if my life was perfect. If I was living in my dream house, if I was running my dream ministries, if I was working my dream job, and I began creating these really intense, vivid feelings surrounding this event until I began feeling like I was already living in that future. And honestly, it only takes a couple of days. It happens really fast before you begin feeling so empowered. And so I was meditating for an hour every morning and I was creating these feelings and then I was carrying them with me throughout the day. I was embodying that person that would live that dream life. And very quickly, I started to see the things that I was visualizing manifest in my life. The first thing that I created was a ministry where I was delivering homemade bread to the low income community where we lived on Christmas Eve. The second thing I manifested was a clothing ministry, which I was running out of the church that I was attending at the time. The third thing that I manifested, and my husband and I did this together, was financial abundance in our life, this feeling of financial abundance, which allowed us to get out of low income housing and into our first home. And the fourth thing that I manifested was the success of this YouTube channel. And I began to think, okay, I'm just going to have fun with this. Like, literally, what is possible? What can I do with this? And I started to create. I just started to live in that like creative, imaginative, emotional, like creating the emotions I wanted to experience in this theta brainwave state. I would just go in and out of it anytime I wanted to create something. So let's say I was at my mother-in-law's house admiring all her houseplants and thinking I would love to have houseplants in my house. I would not allow myself at all to experience the emotion or the vibration of lack or need or wanting houseplants. I would instantly go into theta and I would experience myself as having houseplants. What would that feel like? And I would be living the feeling of already having that, and it would bring me so much joy. And so I lived in this almost samadhi state of just joy and visualization and creation for a good several years. And of course, everything that I visualized would manifest usually very quickly. If I needed art supplies, somebody would give me art supplies. I wanted houseplants, somebody would give me houseplants. I wanted to have a Christmas tree to enjoy with my kids because we had never had a nice one. And somebody would give me like my dream Christmas tree. And things like this would just happen all the time. So it made me thinking, why, if this worked out for you so beautifully, did you stop using law of attraction? And why do you say that you no longer need or want to use it? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. There are three things that I noticed during the years that I was using law of attraction. The first one is that when it comes to the really big things in life anyway, I could really only focus on one big thing at a time. So either getting into the house, focusing on my marriage, focusing on my health. And I began to see that the things I wasn't focusing on would suffer. So let's say I spent a few months really focusing on financial abundance. And during that time, my physical health would make it difficult for me to find the time to put into work like I needed to. And it sort of became this vicious cycle where one thing would be suffering because I would be focusing on another thing. And if I tried to conjure up the energy to hold multiple balls in the air at once, as it were, I would just feel very overwhelmed. So there were limits to what I could do with law of attraction. Two, I began to notice that the results of things that I manifested never brought the blissful, empowered, happy, fulfilled feelings that I thought they would. So let's take, for instance, my YouTube channel. With every milestone that I hit, that I thought, wow, it's going to be really satisfying when I hit 1,000 subscribers or 10,000 subscribers. It never was. It never made me feel any different. But you know what did make me feel different? The meditations that I would do where I would visualize and embody those empowered, happy feelings that I thought I would feel when I hit those milestones. And same for everything that I manifested. And it became really clear to me that the point of law of attraction is not to get us all the stuff that we think we want that will make our life perfect. The point of law of attraction is to show us that none of those things can actually make us happy and that we create our own happiness from within. Because the secret to law of attraction is that to get anything to manifest in the outer world, you have to create it within first. And so you do this enough times, you begin to realize that you are the one creating your own happiness. And you no longer have to attach that to an outcome in the outer world. So I can create my own sense of fulfillment and success completely unrelated to what I do for work or how my relationships are going or anything else where I live, anything in the outer world. And number three, the more I used law of attraction, the more it became clear to me that there was no separate I that was doing the creating, that there is no sense of self here that's actually having an impact or a control on the outer world. The more I began to feel like the universe is flowing through me and creating through me, there is no separate I that's actually doing anything. It started to not feel right to try to use my own state of being to create or control in the environment around me. I began to realize that the me that I thought was so empowered and so free, and look at me and what I can create, and I'm not going to be subject to this victim consciousness anymore. I'm empowered. I'm creating and controlling my own reality. That was all a lie. The real me was the flow of life that was expressing through me. And when I began to tap into this higher state of awareness, it became increasingly clear to me that life was manifesting through me on its own, and that I was in this sacred, divine dance where life would manifest in front of me as exactly what I needed in that moment for my highest and best good. The first time I experienced this state of consciousness was actually last summer when my husband and I were talking about a cross country move. There were so many unknowns. We didn't know how we were going to get our stuff across country. We didn't know where we were going to live. We didn't know where in the state we were going to end up. And there was so much that could have made me so stressed. And it was a situation where it was very clear there is no way that I can try to exert some sort of power of law of attraction and control all of these variables to just make me feel safe and comfortable. And instead, I just let it all go and I surrendered. And I began to feel like I was just walking down this magic path in the woods that was lighting up in front of me, and synchronicities began happening everywhere I looked. And absolutely everything worked out for perfection without me trying to control a single thing. Several months later, here we are, and I'm living in the dream house that I was visualizing back when I found Joe Dispenza. And so, in this higher state of consciousness, I lost the need to have any specific outcome to make me happy or fulfilled. And I also transcended the limitations that come along with law of attraction. Because I'm no longer controlling anything, I don't have to split up my energy and focus between different projects. I just surrender it all into the divine flow of life and watch multiple synchronicities happen simultaneously. I have watched challenges that I thought were insurmountable melt into magic in front of me and dissipate simply through surrender. It's like I am no longer a separate entity using law of attraction to create my reality. Law of attraction is using me. It is flowing through me. It is living and breathing me. It is expressing as me. And if at any point it meets a limiting belief which causes a blockage, this blockage will manifest as a challenge in my life. I surrender to the challenge, knowing it is in my highest and best good, and the energy flows through me and dissolves the challenge and leaves me in a clearer state of consciousness than before. And the more and more this happens, the more trusting you are of life, and the more obvious it becomes that everything that is manifesting is love. It is all love holding you and manifesting as your highest and best good at all times. Law of attraction exists to teach us that reality is already perfect and that there is no you that is doing anything separate from the universe. But you are so loved that the universe will allow you to think that you are manipulating reality as part of the process of waking you up to your power and ultimately experiencing the truth that you are already everything that you are seeking. Not the separate you, not the identity, the sense of self, but the you that is the universe that flows through you. Thank you for watching.